Hello and welcome to Planted Nutrition. My name's Luke, I'm a nutritionist, and this video we're diving deep into the murky waters of soy. Well, maybe they won't be so murky after this video, but if you go online you might see that soy is quite a controversial topic. So I hope to shed some light on this today about the health effects of soy to give you a deeper understanding of this food and whether or not you should include it in your diet. So let's get into it. So to start out, what is soy? So soy comes from a plant. It grows in a little pod, and the food that we eat is soybeans. And they come from Asia, and they've actually been consumed for thousands and thousands of years. They've been a really important crop in Asian countries and provide an important source of nutrients, calories, and protein. And that's the first aspect of soy, is that it can be a really good source of protein. It's what people call a complete protein. It has good amounts of all of the 9 essential amino acids. It's also rich in many other essential nutrients and healthy fats. So soy is found in all sorts of different foods. You have things like tofu and tempeh, which are traditionally prepared and much less processed than something like soy protein isolate, which you can find in a lot of commercial foods. And if we just want to zoom out for a second and look at what is soy used for around the world, a common claim that I see online is like, oh, if you're eating soy, you are literally responsible for deforesting the Amazon rainforest. And I can see why people make this claim, because a lot of the deforestation in the Amazon is to clear space to grow soy. But let's look into this a bit further. If we look at where all of the world's soy is going and what it's being used for, shockingly, 76% of all of the soy grown in the world is used to feed animals. It goes into the process of industrial agriculture, where they grow huge amounts of food like corn and soy, and this is all of the stuff that's GMO that people are scared of, that's probably really not good for our environment and not good for our soils. But it's going to feed animals, and everyone is buying the meat from these animals to eat, but it's an incredibly inefficient way of feeding the world. It takes a huge amount of resources just to get a small output. So when people are talking about, if you're eating soy, you're destroying the planet, it's actually people that are buying these meats that are grown from animals that are fed this soy that is the problem. Only about 6% of the world's soy production is used to create food like tofu and tempeh and soy milk. And another certain percent is used for creation of oil, which is used in cooking oil around the world. That's just a really important point that I would love for you to understand, because there seems to be a lot of cognitive dissonance in this space. It's really easy to put the blame on a specific thing or a specific group of people, but we need to understand the whole picture and why things are like they are. I'm not telling you what to do here, but it's important to know the truth so that you can make more empowered choices based upon your individual values. And with all of that said, let's get into the individual health effects of soy. So one concern is that soy has what are called anti-nutrients. These are compounds that make it harder for our body to absorb certain vitamins or minerals in certain foods, and soy is one of them. But it's also important to understand when soy is prepared in these traditional methods like tofu or tempeh or soy milk, the beans are soaked for like 24 hours or so. And in this soaking process, it actually releases a lot of these anti-nutrients. So when we're getting these traditionally prepared foods, the idea of anti-nutrients isn't really a concern. And studies have shown that this process reduces certain anti-nutrients by up to 70% after just soaking for 9 hours. And it also increases the digestibility of soy protein by around 60 to 70%. Or if the soybeans aren't soaked and they're used to make soy milk, for example, they're often boiled, which basically is the same thing. It reduces these anti-nutrients. So that part of the conversation, it's generally not something to worry about. So the next juicy section of this video, isoflavones. These are what people call estrogens, plant estrogens, phytoestrogens. And this is because they have a similar chemical structure to estrogen. And so people say, you should never eat soy because it's going to either, if you're a man, mess with your testosterone, or if you're a woman, it's going to mess with your hormones as well. And I have a hilarious story about this as well. When I was at university, I was flatting with a group of friends. We were all going to the gym, working out, wanting to put on muscle as best we could, and we heard about this with soy, and so soy was banned in our house. No soy milk, no tofu, and not even a few drops of soy sauce to give some flavor in the food. Because we were terrified about dropping our testosterone by a small amount and missing out on those sick gains. But the truth about this is, just because something has a slight similarity chemically, doesn't mean that it's going to have the same effect in our bodies. Some of soy's health effects can be attributed to these isoflavones, but they're actually positive health effects. And we're going to get into these health effects next. So the first one that I hear a lot about is people talking about soy and thyroid health, and that soy completely damages your thyroid. And this is because soy does contain goitrogens, which are compounds that can inhibit iodine uptake by our thyroid. So our thyroid is a gland that's about here. It's really important for our metabolic health. But when scientists actually look at the research on this, a review of basically all of the research in this field found that there was no effect on thyroid health and thyroid hormones from the consumption of soy, or even from the consumption of the isoflavones in like a supplement form. And something that's important to understand when we talk about this as well is a lot of the sensational or scary sort of things that you see online is people doing what is called cherry picking evidence. So when we have a review of all of the research in humans, it can not be as compelling as they gave soy to rats and look what happened. But the thing is, in these studies that are often cited on rats that I see, they're giving them hugely higher doses that would ever be possible in humans. You'd have to be eating literally tens of kilograms of soy to get those levels of isoflavones, for example. So it's important not to be confused here by people misrepresenting the evidence, but you can also see how on social media, something shocking and scary like that can go a lot higher in the algorithm than someone saying, well, actually we studied humans and it's kind of boring, like there wasn't really any effect. So next one, testosterone. Does it affect us? I mean, I can give an anecdote. I've been eating soy every day for the last probably 6 years, but anyone can give an anecdote. And I mean, maybe there are stories of people having negative effects from soy, but there's also millions and millions of people around the world, especially in Asian countries like Japan and China, where men have been consuming soy for literally thousands of years. And when we look at all of the research again on soy and testosterone, they did another review of all of the evidence. And this is looking at lots of different studies, many different people from different groups over time. And they found, shockingly, that soy had no effect on testosterone. Because probably, as I've explained, that phytoestrogens, they are different. They affect our body differently than the actual hormones that we produce. It is a complete myth that soy feminizes men. And there's also research showing that soy doesn't appear to impact fertility either. But it is not to say that it doesn't affect these things when it's overconsumed. Sometimes I see people sharing online, there's one case report of one guy in this planet of 8 billion people who was having several liters of soy milk a day, every day, and they had what is called gynecomastia, which is like male breast tissue development, and erectile dysfunction and reduced libido. But I think we could probably say similar things. If we're having too much water per day, it can negatively affect our health. If we're having too much of anything, it can negatively affect our health. The context here is consuming soy as part of a healthy, balanced diet does not appear to have any of these negative consequences that people talk about. A lot of it's overblown. They might share this one case study of someone, and basically, if you're having that much soy, you're probably not really having any other foods. But the thing is that one anecdote can't tell us much because we don't know the whole picture as well. We don't know what else they were eating, what else was happening in their lifestyle. But we do have research on lots of other humans living their normal lives, and it does not show a negative effect. There's even research looking at prostate cancer in men, showing that soy can reduce the risk of getting prostate cancer. So it could even be beneficial for male health as well. And getting into women's health and breast cancer, for example, there's been evidence that they can actually reduce the risk of hormonal related cancers such as breast cancer. And this is because they can bind to estrogen receptors, but they're much weaker than our body's own natural hormones. And from this, researchers postulated it could have some effect on cancer risk, and they managed to do that research, and they found that there was a really significant association between soy consumption and lower rates of breast cancer. It might also benefit the bone health of postmenopausal women, so that's a really important concern, is that once estrogen levels start to decrease after menopause, it can lead to the reduction of bone density in women. But there's evidence showing that soy consumption can actually help to promote bone density. But another thing that's really important is getting that weight-bearing exercise in, like walking or lifting weights. And there's also evidence that soy intake can help reduce hot flash symptoms, for example, during menopause, so helping to reduce the potentially difficult side effects of menopause. So these are some of the most common health, environmental, and general concerns that I see about soy. If there's anything that I've missed out or that you would love to see covered, please let me know in the comments below. And I know this is a controversial topic for many people, but it's also really important to have an open mind and look at the evidence that's presented to us. I'm not saying that you should have soy if you don't want to, but if you do want to have soy, it can be a really healthy part of a balanced diet, a great source of protein and other nutrients. It's personally something that I consume very regularly, and I love me a good tofu recipe. The key takeaway is just don't be afraid. Be very aware of what you see online. A lot of it is just showing you a tiny snippet of this whole picture, but sometimes we need to zoom out to see it more clearly. So I hope this video has given you some more context, because there is a huge amount of research on soy. If you cherry pick a specific study in a rat, for example, where they gave them ungodly amounts of this certain specific thing isolated from soy, it's very different to what we see from someone consuming a small amount of soy as part of a balanced diet on the regular. And if you are a bit confused, worried about nutrition, and you need some support, I'm giving free 30-minute nutrition consultation. You can book one at the link in the description. I'm genuinely giving this out for free because I want to help you with your health, and I know nutrition can be so confusing. So if you feel called to that, use this opportunity, book yourself in for that. And as always, I hope you've enjoyed the video. Stay healthy, my friends, and I'll see you in the next one.